Hello and welcome everyone. Hope you're all having a really good time and enjoying this session so far. Welcome to the awesome collaboration between L&D Cares and Global Learning and Development Community, affectionately known as GLDC. You are in the 7 types of rest that every person needs session. I'm your host, Rita Sucrit, and before we begin, I'd like to take care of some housekeeping items. First of all, any technical issues, try refreshing your page by pressing the F5, the function key 5, or use the purple question mark located at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And your right panel, there's the chat box, which we will be using today with our speaker. The Q&A, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A so I can retrieve them really quickly. And poll, which we may not use in this session. I really would like you to show support to our speaker today by using the smiley emoticon that's located at the bottom of your screen around the middle. And if when you open it up, there you go. You're already doing it. Thank you. And beside smiley, beside the smiley, there's also the raised hand and CC, closed captioning for those that need it. So this session is being taped for our speaker because remember it is first-time speakers. So just to let you know. Now, our incredible speaker for this session is Martyna Adamska. She is an experienced, passionate coach and a trainer with psychological and pedagogical background. During the past 3 years, she's been working at PwC Luxembourg, and she's been responsible for the leadership training path for the entire organization. In March of 2020, Martyna started her own training company. She also helped organize a film festival in Luxembourg called Sin East. Within the festival, she organized a women's event showcasing a series of soft skill workshops for women. So talking about the 7 types of rest that every person needs is Martyna. Audience, I ask you to give her a virtual welcome. Martyna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rita, and thank you guys for all the hearts and all the support. Let me share my screen first. I'm going to share my screen and actually ask to you, Rita, whether you can see it as well.
Okay, not yet, not quite.
It takes time. Normally it takes some time.
Okay, yeah, I can see now, yes.
Lovely. Welcome, everyone. Choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. This is a famous quote, which was once said by Confucius. I'm sure lots of you have heard it before, but do you agree with it? Have you ever thought about it? What I want you to ask you is to give me your answer in the chat functionality, whether you agree with this quote or disagree.
Okay, well, we do have Linnea that's saying she does not agree at this. And let's see what else is coming up. Kira says no. The host says yes. Our L&D host totally agrees with it. Eman agrees. Minna agrees. Tio in no, don't agree. Shonda, yes, just hard to find that job, I suppose. And Brenda, no, this can lead to burnout. So those are some of the responses coming from the chat.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your answers. What if I tell you that believing in this quote led me to a serious burnout and 5 months of sleeping and eating disorders? Let me take you back to the story where it all started. In 2006, I graduated psychology. I did my postgraduate studies at the University of Warsaw. And on the last day of my studies, our professor asked us a question. So what would you like to do next? Some of my colleagues decided to do the clinical psychology. The others wanted to work with the children. Others wanted to work with pets and dogs because there is something like a psychologist for pets. But I wasn't sure. All I was sure about was that I wanted to work with groups, not with individuals. So he asked me another question. He asked me to draw a picture with the ideal work settlement, with the ideal work setting for me. And what I drew was very interesting. It was a group of people. I was standing between them, and I was having a big orange ball in my hands. And I was throwing this ball to this group of people. And this ball was full of passion, energy, love, and knowledge. And those people were throwing this ball back to me. And there was this continuous movement and exchange of energy. And when I looked at this picture, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a trainer or a group therapist. When I looked at this picture, I had tears in my eyes because I realized that this is my destiny, that this is the job I'm gonna love the most, supporting the others, helping the others, being with them, and continuously exchanging our energy and passion. A few years later, I moved from Poland to Luxembourg, and then I found a job at the Big Four. And look what I found there. I joined an amazing L&D team where everyone was absolutely passionate about the job and supporting others. There was an ocean of possible projects we could work on. I had a very inspiring manager I worked with. There were 77 nationalities, all working in one building. I was working as an internal executive coach, internal soft skill trainer, and I was responsible for a soft skill training path of the whole organization. Ocean of possibilities and ocean of workload. But a couple of years later, the global pandemics came, and we had to work even harder because every single project, every single training needed to be converted into virtual one. We were volunteering to do more and more because people started to suffer. People started to suffer from anxiety, from loneliness. Lots of them were separated from their families and friends. So what we did is we opened a helpline, which was open also during the weekends and late nights. And we volunteered to even do more. L&D was involved in every single project across the farm. On top of that, I am a mom. I have 2 kids, and my kids had to, just like every other kid at that time, struggled with the home.
Martyna, pardon me. In the chat, are we still on the first slide, or have you moved the PowerPoint?
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. That's okay. Absolutely fine. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go on. Yes.
Yeah. At the same time, I was a mom having the kids. Yeah, having 2 kids in the school age, and the kids were struggling with the homeschooling, just as every other kid, I think, across the world. So on top of my 40-hour job, which in fact was much more than 40 hours. I was a teacher because I was printing hundreds of pages every day. I had to teach them in English, German, French, because in Luxembourg, the kids had 3 languages at the same time at school. So my working day was actually 24/7. But come on, I loved my kids to death. So I didn't really count it as working hours. Choose the job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life, right? Months were passing and I thought, the only thought which was really comforting to me and to my colleagues was that it will soon be over. But after 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, nothing has changed. And one day in September 2020, I realized that the number of projects that I was doing doubled, that I was literally delivering 5 virtual trainings a week. And directly from trainings, I was jumping into the calls. I had back-to-back meetings to late evening hours, and it was a never-ending process. And During the trainings, people started to suffer from the Zoom fatigue, and I couldn't blame them for that. So basically what they were doing is, I had the feeling that I was throwing this ball to them again, full of energy, passion, and knowledge, and I was getting nothing in return because people were busy writing their emails, people were busy talking to somebody else, answering messages on their phone, and I could clearly see it. Some of them even turned off their cameras to hide their faces. But I had as if this ball that I was throwing to them was hitting the screen and then hitting me back in my head, but there was no energy inside anymore. And one day during a coaching session, in the end of the session, when I was trying to ask a very deep, life-changing question to my coachee, I realized that my brain refused to work. I realized that my energy level was close to zero. And at that time, I finished the session and I realized that there was something wrong going on with me. I suffered from sleeping disorders many months before, but I ignored them. Or I was taking pills and they really helped me, but it wasn't the solution. So I went to see the doctor and I was quite surprised because I got diagnosed with something which was called an empathy fatigue. Empathy fatigue is also called the cost of care or the compassion fatigue. And according to Dr. Albers from Cleveland University Clinic, it is the emotional and physical exhaustion that happens from caring for people day after day after day. It is like a constant drip of cortisol that goes to our brain, and we can only do that for so long until our body and mind start to break down. It is a defense mechanism. It was my body's way of telling me to pay attention and to take a step back to care for myself. It's quite interesting because empathy fatigue also equals a burnout. It's just another kind of burnout. In the past, empathy fatigue was mainly impacting healthcare, so doctors, nurses, firefighters, so all the people who worked in the front line due to the nature of their work. But during the pandemic, actually all the HR people became the frontline people dealing with suffering people on a daily basis. So what were the main symptoms that were telling me that I had this empathy fatigue or a burnout? Well, first of all, it was, as I mentioned before, the sleeping disorders, but also eating disorders. There were days when I didn't realize till the afternoon that I haven't eaten at all because I was so busy. Of course, I got also, I was sad, I was upset, I was feeling isolated and helpless. And those of you who know me know that I'm a very energetic and positive person. And in this particular moment, I felt completely desperate. I felt completely hopeless and I felt completely down. After I went for a sick leave for 2 weeks, hoping that simply by getting some more sleep, I will be feeling better. But honestly, 2 weeks were not enough. It took me 6 weeks to recover, to be able to come back to work. And the reason why I'm sharing it with you now is because I strongly believe that most of the people who work in HR and most of the people who work in L&D department, they are exposed to this kind of stress, this level of stress. And those are the people who are very sensitive with the high level of empathy and the people who are really passionate about their field. So what I found out during my therapy, because this is what I need to call it, it was a long recovery process with a therapy involved. I discovered something, a research done by Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith about the 7 types of rest that every person needs. And my next question to you is, and you don't need to answer it in the chat, but I'm hoping that you will answer it to yourself. The question is, how many times have you thought that simply by sleeping longer or by having, longer vacation, you will fully recover, but then you came back to work and a day after you felt exactly the same way? That's because sleeping is not enough. And what I would like to give you today in the next 5 minutes is the short summary of this research of Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith about the rest, which should equal restoration in 7 key areas of your life. The first one is a physical rest. And when we think physical, we often think about physical exercise, which is not the case, because sometimes we are so exhausted that physical exercise is too much for our body. So when we speak about physical rest, it's all about getting a nap, getting a sleep, quality sleep, or simply stretching your body. So restoring your body by stretching your body, doing yoga, etc. The second type of rest which I would like to mention is a mental rest. And mental rest, it is not a big cup of coffee. This is not going to help you out. It is about disconnecting sometimes, taking a break during a day, watching something silly instead of always, watching very ambitious films or reading, New York Times as a break. Sometimes we really need to, we are so overstimulated with different messages coming to our brain that we simply need to go outside and look at the trees around your house or reading a silly magazine. This is what mental rest is all about. Or simply roll on the grass with your kids and enjoy your time off. The third type of rest, which I would like to mention, is a sensory rest, and it's very much combined with the second one. The sensory rest is a rest from bright lights, computer screens, from background noises. Do you have your iPhone in your bedroom? Do you scroll messages or social media before you go to bed? It is all stimulating your brain, and it's better to actually have a traditional alarm clock next to your bed rather than having a temptation always to grab your iPhone. The fourth type of rest is my favorite one. It's called a creative rest. And here we can talk either about making art by yourself or by contemplating art in the museum, which can be inspiring, but it's also a great relief for your brain. It doesn't need to be a piece of art. It can be also the nature. Think about the first time you saw the Niagara Falls, or maybe first time you saw a beautiful forest or a jungle. This is the moment when your brain there was this wow effect of your brain. It's super inspiring, but it's also disconnecting you and changing the focus. And at this moment, I just need to mention this because art and making art can have an amazing impact on how your brain functions. It helps you imagine a more hopeful future. It lowers your stress level. It activates the reward center of your brain. It lets you focus deeply, and it clears your head. The fifth type of rest, which I would like to mention today, is the emotional rest. It's about being authentic. It's about being authentic, not pleasing everyone around you, but actually showing your real emotions, making sure that when you are really feeling tired and not well, you can answer the question, I'm not feeling well, I would like to take a break. And Martyna, being surrounded by the people who have a good impact on you and make you feel good.
Martyna, we've got about 2 minutes before we...
I'm finishing. Mm-hmm. The sixth one is very much linked with the fifth one. It is the social rest. It's about spending time with your friends, with your colleagues, connecting to the loved ones, and making sure that you also have time for fun and enjoying yourself. And the last one is a spiritual rest. And this is something which is also very important to me. Actually, right after this session, I go to the meditation weekend to one of the monasteries in France. I'm really excited about it. This is something that we often ignore. The spiritual rest is the ability to connect beyond the physical and mental and feel a deep sense of belonging and love. It's not only about the religion. You can be engaged in some community activities. You can have some rituals with your friends, but please do not ignore this one. And if you can't remember all the 7 points, all I want you to remember from this session and recall after this session is the 3 simple letters, A, B, C. A as awareness, to be aware how you are feeling here and now, and do not ignore the signals which are sent from your body. B is balance. So how much balance do you have nowadays in your life? Also balance between the bad news and the good news that are getting to you. You need to filter them, and you really need to find a balance to be able to feel good. And the 3rd letter, C, is connection. Connection with your loved ones, connection with yourself, and connection with your heart. Thank you very much. And sorry that I took 2 minutes longer.
That's fine. I think we needed this context and the story that you prefaced with the 7 types of sleep. So thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. And I can see from the chat, people were really engaged and asked and concerned, wanted to know what the 7 types are. We really appreciated you sharing what empathy fatigue is about and equating it to being burned out. Martyna, audience, thank you so much for your support, and thank you for coming out here this afternoon. Martyna, thank you. Great speech, great presentation, and let's keep going and get our rest.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.